So welcome to the Revere Housing Authority. This is a very exciting day. I'd like to thank you all for being here, and I'd like to take time to thank some special people. We have Acting Mayor Patrick Keef here. We have Ben Tyag from Senator Lydia Edwards' office. Representative Jessica Janino is with us. And we have Jacqueline Monterosso from the school committee. I apologize. It's the first time I read it. It's a day where state, local government, and public housing authority are able to come together for the betterment of our residents. The Revere Housing Authority has almost 898 units and over 465 vouchers within the city. When I was hired as the executive director, the Board of Commissioners, Chairman Anthony Peroni, Vice Chairman George Anzoni, Treasurer Richard Viscay, and Commissioner Fatou Drame expressed their desire to make changes and improvements that not only affected the brick and mortar, but changes that affected the lives of the people who reside here. If you look around this development, you'll see many of those changes and improvements. We forged relationships with the DCR, and they've planted trees throughout our development. The city has installed new sidewalks and curbs. The Housing Authority, in conjunction with the state's LEAN program, has installed all new high-efficiency lighting and high-efficiency heating systems in each building. The RHA Board of Directors, or Board of Commissioners, has funded new siding and roofing projects, and currently we are in the process of creating additional parking and a new playground to meet the needs of our residents. Today we are very grateful to take advantage of the opportunity presented to us, an opportunity to bridge the digital divide for our residents. We have worked closely with the Massachusetts Broadband Institute, MAPC, and the City of Revere for nearly 2 years to make this project a reality. And we know it will have a significant impact on our residents' lives. The average monthly income for a household in this development is $2,300 per month. You factor in the cost of rent and food, and that doesn't leave much left over for our residents. Residents can spend over $100 per month on internet costs, which over a year is the equivalent of spending 1 month's earnings. Today's family needs to be connected. To be connected to the internet means you are connected to opportunities. It creates access to education, access to jobs, access to better health care, and it creates access to a better life. Before I move on, I'd like to thank Brian Luther of MAPC for all of his help in putting this together. Personally, we've been talking every day, almost every minute today. Get a bigger tent. Is it going to hold up? Chairs. So, Brian, thank you very much for your help. And now, without further delay, I'd like to introduce Acting Mayor Patrick Keef up to the podium.
Thank you for being here today, and we want to thank Dean again for his leadership with the Housing Authority and what he does for our community every single day, and thank you to the entire board for being here. Also, special thanks to Mass Broadband and Josh Iken and his foundation for putting this together and also being the major, the funder for this, so we really appreciate that. Without that funding source, this project would not happen. MAPC, your commitment to the community, your commitment to the entire state, and making sure these valuable assets are put to good use, and what you do in the Metro Boston area is unbelievable. And everyone in attendance today, we know that this is a big community effort, and I can't really take much credit for this. This started much before my time, but we know how important this is to our community. And what I wanted to say in just a few brief words before I turn over the microphone is we talk about equity in our community all the time. We talk about housing, we talk about food, we talk about education, we talk about jobs, and the digital equity is what really brings all of that together. We saw this during the pandemic. Students were going to McDonald's parking lots to get digital access, to get onto the internet. Families had no way of getting their reach out to find jobs, to find food security, to find education, to find the things that they need in every day's life. We all know that we are very reliant on technology these days. The days of 1980s and 1990s has changed. Getting a ride, you need technology. So having internet access and having good broadband access to get onto Zooms and take interviews and to be able to find food resources and to be able to find housing, to be able to find a great job, you need to have that access. So creating equity amongst our digital community is really, really important. So this project, I'm so proud that Revere is the first. Again, you're putting Revere on the map, and I can't thank you enough for putting us out there. And we're so happy to celebrate this with you. So I'm going to ask Representative Janino to come up and to have a few words. But again, we're very proud to be able to be the first sample community, and we hope that we're going to continue to do more. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mayor Keef. It's an honor to be here before you today. And this is really an exciting and a special event for me. Many people don't know when my parents got divorced, they lived on Rose Street. And before my dad got custody of me, my mom and I lived over there. And I know what it meant then, you know, for some of these responsibilities, especially on single parents and single parent families, on our seniors that are in public housing. It's so, so important because when you look at, you know, our monthly expenses, you look at our phone bill, you look at our cable, you look at our internet, and for some of these families that are living on a fixed income, that's more than 70% of their intake. That's more than 70% of what they get on a fixed income on that one SSI check or one check that they get per month. And when you look at these resources, as Mayor Keef mentioned, we had students during the pandemic that had to go to McDonald's parking lots to get access. You know, we've relied on technology so much over the last few years. It's something that I think many of us take for granted. I walk into the State House, I turn on my phone, I have Wi-Fi. I sit down at my desk, I plug in my computer, I'm connected to the internet. And that's paid for. The state sets that up so I can do my work every day. But for many families, it's not a reality. You know, for our seniors, some of them have to choose between cable or groceries, right? This gives them the ability to, you know, it may just be Wi-Fi, but this gives them options for streaming services. Instead of paying $130 a month for cable, they can pay $12 for Netflix and watch television. You know, this gives them the option to expand their phone use. You know, a landline now can be over $50. This gives you the ability to use Wi-Fi calling and to talk to people. You know, many people have family out of the country. They can now FaceTime relatives out of the country. They can Zoom with relatives out of the country to stay in touch. So I think many of us in this era take for granted the simple things that we have in life, like Wi-Fi, right? But for so many families, this is not something that's just given. This is not a privilege. This is something that people have to make really tough decisions over. And that's not a decision as a parent I would want to make, or as a senior that they should have to make. So I'm really excited that we're starting this program in Revere. I think it's huge. I think it's going to be really transformational for our residents, that this burden is something they don't have to think about, right? This takes that off their shoulders so that they can focus on groceries. They can focus on looking for work. They can focus on their children. This is one less thing that they have to be worried about. I'm really excited about this. I hope that, you know, Revere is the start for so many great things in Massachusetts. And it's really a privilege to represent this community because we get to see so many breakthrough programs happen and we get to be the test subjects, which is pretty great for us. But I really want to thank MAPC and the Housing Authority for being so forward thinking, for putting this forward and for talking about, you know, how do we make life for our residents easier aside from just shelter, right? They do that. They give people a place to call home. They give people a place to feel safe. But how can we make their lives just a little bit easier? And that's what this does. We wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for the person that I have the privilege of introducing next, and that is Josh Iken. Josh, I told you I had one thing to remember. Sorry. Josh Iken. Josh is with the Mass Broadband Institute, and they were the major funder for this to make sure that, again, our residents have this. So, Josh, thank you to you and your team, the Housing Authority, MAPC, everyone that made this possible. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Representative. Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks so much for coming out. I know it's a little chilly. Hopefully folks are staying warm. There's hot chocolate here today. Get my notes out here. So, my name is Josh Iken. I'm the program director for development, or I'm the director for program development at the Massachusetts Broadband Institute. MBI is the state broadband office, and our mission is to bring reliable, affordable, high-speed internet to every household and business in the Commonwealth. Thank you, Mayor Keef, for being here today. I want to also thank Dean at the Revere Housing Authority city staff that are here today, George Pazos, Danielle Osterneman, and others, along with the leadership at the Revere Public Schools who worked with MBI and MAPC starting back in 2021 on really understanding and addressing the digital divide through what became the Commonwealth's first ever digital equity plan. I want to thank the MAPC team who is here today for their commitment and leadership on this work through the technical and procurement elements of the project. You know, doing something like this, a big Wi-Fi system in a public housing development, it's not as easy as just calling a contractor and turning on a switch. There is a huge amount of technical effort that goes into this. So huge thanks again to Brian and the team at MAPC. And I also wanted to acknowledge the work of Education Superhighway, who is a national nonprofit who is responsible for the first series of apartment Wi-Fi programs in the United States. We found out about their program, we heard about it, we thought it was amazing. We wanted to bring it here to Massachusetts. And we're taking credit, or we're giving them credit and taking their program here and starting it off in Revere. So Mayor Keef's comments about the importance of internet access is spot on. You know, when we began this work back in 2021, the city's unemployment rate was above 20%. It wasn't clear if it would recover in the short term or even at all. You know, at the time, city officials began speaking with my team about, you know, how to ensure residents could apply for jobs, access educational resources, stay in touch with family and friends. So we began a planning process. And really the goal of that planning process was to understand, you know, the role of the city and other community stakeholders and making sure that internet access was available and affordable for all residents of Revere. And really, through that effort, we convened stakeholders inside and outside of City Hall, and we built a broad base of knowledge and support for addressing this issue. Based on that experience, so Revere was a leader in this front as well, based on that experience, MBI is now offering technical assistance to any municipality that's interested to apply for planning funds to conduct similar planning processes so that they can understand how to address these issues as well. It was through that planning process that in Revere, the residents and community leadership identified public housing and other kinds of affordable housing as priority locations for investment activities to address the digital divide. As we've expanded this work across the state through our statewide digital equity and broadband planning activities, which we're calling Internet for All in Massachusetts, we've heard similar things from residents of public housing and affordable housing. Tenants have difficulty affording the internet. Even low-cost plans, you know, can be out of reach for some residents and households. And although there is the Affordable Connectivity Program, which offers a $30 federal subsidy for broadband, many residents don't take advantage of it because either they don't know about it or it's too complicated and cumbersome to apply for. We found a recent Mass Inc. report cited that 41% of households in census tracts where public housing is located do not have a broadband subscription. So we've taken all that information and we are taking steps to address that issue. Through this program that we're launching today, we are taking the first step to provide no barrier-free internet access to residents of public housing and affordable housing here at the Rose Pomona development in Revere. All 100 households in this development will be able to access a minimum of 50 over 50 symmetrical broadband speeds. To put that into context, the baseline Lifeline programs that are available for most ISPs are about 50 over 10. So that's the maximum that residents are able to access. This investment also illustrates, you know, how this model can save money in the long run. The ongoing service costs associated with this project pencil out to about $16 per household per month. Again, for context, most Lifeline programs for broadband service cost around $30 per month. And now, any public housing and affordable housing developer in the state can raise their hand and apply for this program. And we will make sure that we get them into the process and we work with them to understand if we can replicate this program at their development. So this moment really marks the beginning of a long-term effort that MBI and our partners across the state plan to make in ensuring that public housing and affordable housing residents are no longer impacted by the digital divide. So thank you all so much for being here. Again, thank you to Revere for your leadership. I believe I'm going to pass it over to my colleague, and is Camila here? I'm sorry. I'm going to turn it over to possibly the most important person here today, who is a resident of Rose Pomona. So Camila, please come on up. Thank you so much.
Hello. I would like to thank the City of Revere, MAPC, and MBI for inviting me to speak today. My name is Camila Perez, and I am a proud resident of the Rose and Pomona Revere Housing Authority site. I live here with my mother, and I'm currently a sophomore at Revere High School and recently completed my first summer internship through the YouthWorks program, where I met many other Revere students in similar circumstances. The launch of this free Wi-Fi network here is going to change lives. I, along with other Revere youth who live here, will now have access to reliable internet connection, which is something many take for granted. Not only will we be able to complete our homework and access educational materials online more easily, but our parents will use the connection to access city services online, better connect with family, and complete work. I thank the city, MAPC, and MBI for opening and providing free internet services, as it is a daily need that unfortunately many can't afford. And I know I cannot wait to use my home internet to apply for next summer's internship. Thank you.
Camila, thank you so much. Can we just get one more round of applause? That's hard to do. Hi, everyone. I'm Lizzie Wyan. I'm the Deputy Executive Director at the Metropolitan Area Planning Council, which is the regional planning agency that's coordinating this work. I want to echo the thanks that Dean offered earlier. Thanks to Mayor Keef. Over the years, Revere has just been an incredible partner in our work at MAPC, and we have really seen that continue under your leadership, so thank you so much. I also want to give a special thank you to our partners at MBI. Most of you don't know that Josh is actually a former MAPC employee, and it turns out that when a former colleague becomes a major funder, you have to answer their calls a lot more quickly, but it's been great. MAPC has long committed ourselves to centering equity in our planning work. We met this commitment very deeply during the pandemic in very many different ways, helping residents in our region find housing, access to tests, access to care, and access to food. But as we saw this rapid shift to a virtual world, many of our state officials were actually surprised to see that the digital divide was not just a problem for our rural communities, that it was actually a problem right here in our urban communities. We heard examples of this earlier. We were not surprised that this was happening because the pandemic really laid bare these long simmering problems. But we knew that we had the tools to address it. And so we undertook the work to close the digital divide. And starting here in Revere and expanding through Greater Boston and throughout our entire Commonwealth, that we feel like we can give every young person, every job seeker, everyone taking an online class access to the internet at home. We see this project as the beginning of exciting and long overdue work to close the digital divide for all Massachusetts residents. We started off, which will not surprise you since we're a planning agency, with some plans. So we did some digital equity planning in Revere, Chelsea, and Everett. And these plans really started off by creating roadmaps for cities and regions to address this work. Through this incredible program provided by the Mass Broadband Institute and the Mass Tech Collaborative, we've also been able to leverage state and federal funding to directly serve residents and make tangible and quantifiable impact on residents right here. And we will continue to provide free high-speed wireless service to thousands of residents across the Commonwealth through our apartment Wi-Fi program. We currently have projects underway in Chelsea and Quincy that will soon bring internet access to another 400 households. We are thrilled to be able to bring our procurement and planning expertise and our relationships with cities and towns to ensure that residents are getting the high-speed, reliable high-speed internet that our lives today require. We feel like we put our digital equity work into practice by making high-speed internet a reality for all of our residents in all of our communities in every corner of the Commonwealth. So I want to thank all of you again for being here today and for the ability to do this work with you. It really takes a village. I have about a third of my staff at MAPC is working on this project, so it's really, like Josh said, it's a really, really big effort, and I'm so grateful to all of you. This is actually the end of our speaking program, but we have Mobile City Hall, which if you haven't seen it yet, it's so rad. And so you can actually check out the Digital Navigators table to see everything in action. Thank you all so much for being here.